Good morning, everyone. Rich Hagan, sitting with Zach Hill and Rashad Miller. Welcome back to day 2 of Pro Tour Born of the Gods. It's great to have you with us. We've got a fantastic day in store. And Zach, we're going to get through this sort of the housekeeping part of the day nice and swiftly. But of course, yesterday being Friday, some poor people missed out on the stream. They had to work. They didn't stay up all night watching the rerun wherever they were in the world. So let's set the stage and begin with what is the schedule of what we've already seen and what we're going to see coming up.
We started out with 3 rounds of booster draft. Obviously, Born of the Gods, Theros draft. Of course, if you've been around a long time, it still feels kind of new to do the most recent set first, but that's what we did. Then we had 5 rounds of the modern format.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to see today.
Exactly the same system again. There we are. It's just coming up on the big board for you. Saturday, we are at round 9. That's what's coming your way. Born of the Gods, Theros booster draft, and then on we go with modern. Now, best 2 out of 3. Sunday, it will continue to be best 2 out of 3 in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, and then in the final, best 3 out of 5. Rashad, let's talk a little bit about the scoring system, because every sport has its own little quirky system. What's ours?
Well, as you can see, it is going to be best 2 out of 3. And if you win that best 2 out of 3, you get 3 points. If you don't win, you get 0 points. Now, the rounds are timed, so after the 55 minutes, or maybe 55 or an hour, not sure exactly how many minutes it is, but if there isn't a clear winner, like one person wins the game on each side, then you get a draw, and that's only 1 point.
Okay, and generally, draws are bad, right?
Yeah, draws are bad in this format. The thing about a draw is it's only worth 1 point. Now, a win's worth 3, so that means you need 3 draws just to equate to 1 win. So it's worse than just splitting the difference between a win and the loss for both players.
Okay, the 1 point that the draws start to become relevant is when we get right to the back end of today, we may find that there are players on, let's say, 12 wins and then 2 losses and a draw, and that potentially puts them 1 point above all the people on 12 and 3, and that 1 extra point, rather than feeling you're 2 behind, you start feeling like you're 1 ahead. But that gets pretty complex towards the back end of the day. You don't need to worry your brains about that at this time in the morning. All right, so Zach, what are we playing for? Let's talk a little bit about the prizes on offer. We've got the prize payout coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big money is the $40,000 first place prize. That, of course, there's pro points to go with this too. Those work into virtual money, and that they qualify you for more events that lead to more dollars. So you've got $40,000 for first place, $20,000 for second place, third and fourth, $12,500 apiece, 5th through 8th, $10,000 apiece. So if you make the top 8 of this tournament, you're getting at least 10 grand. And then, of course, the payout goes deeper from there, all the way down to 75th place.
Okay, and there's a column there, pro points. You said a sort of virtual currency. We have levels of pro. You'll hear us through the day here at the news desk and in the commentary booth talking about gold level pros, silver pros, and platinum pros. Well, it's the platinums who are the cream of the crop, the true elite of the modern game. And you get these levels each year. It's like almost like air miles. You're re-qualifying. So it isn't necessarily the best players of all time who are your platinums, but it is the people who are dominating the modern game right now. So that's the sort of club levels. All right, now, you may be thinking, well, this is all very well and good, but I play Magic and I play at my local store. How come I'm not in Valencia playing on the Pro Tour? Rashad, we have lots of different ways to get people to subsequent Pro Tours. So why don't you walk us through those?
Exactly. Everyone who's watching here, I would hope to think, wants to come and play at this Pro Tour. So the way that you get to the Pro Tour is first win a Pro Tour qualifier. Those are open to anybody who wants to play. You can find those at local game shops. That's the entry-level way to get to the Pro Tour. High Grand Prix finishes, those are also entry-level events. You can find those. They don't happen as regularly as Pro Tour qualifiers, but the top 4 players, depending on how many players are at attendance in the Grand Prix, qualify. And if the Grand Prix happens to be bigger, then those qualifications can go down even further.
And you can see all the rest of those great ways. You have top finishes at previous Pro Tours, Magic Online Championship Series. On it goes. Be a player club member, a platinum, a gold, silver, or a Hall of Famer. I can tell you that we're going to start with one of the best players in the game right now. Owen Turtenwald is sitting down at our feature match draft table, ready to take his Born of the Gods destiny into his own hands once again. He's at 6-2, needing 7-1 today to be in yet another top 8. So it's time to leave the news desk, and for the first time today, in the commentary box, it's Randy Buehler and first, Brian David Marshall.
Hi, everybody. Brian David Marshall here with Pro Tour Hall of Famer Randy Buehler, and we are about to watch Owen Turtenwald draft his Day 2 deck, and we're going to send it down to the floor, and we're going to see what he does as he opens up that Born of the Gods pack. Randy Buehler, Brian David Marshall, let's watch Owen Turtenwald. Hello and welcome to the Day 2 draft of Pro Tour Born of the Gods here in Valencia. We're watching over Owen Turtenwald's shoulder as he pulls a Fanatic of Xenagos
I saw him have this
and a
conversation
Crowan
this
Skyguard
morning.
to
Andrew
the front of his pack. Tell us about this.
Yeah, Andrew Cooney looked at him and said, Fanatic, or what do you take, Fanatic or Skyguard?
Well, that's a good. That was a good breakfast conversation to have had.
And the answer is a Crowan Skyguard. Owen wants to be white. I mean, Fanatic of Xenagos is quite good, but if Owen could pick one color that he gets to be, it's white. He thinks white is the deepest color across, and it's particularly in Theros. It's super deep. If you can cut it off, you can get past Wingsteed Riders, you can get past Phalanx Leaders.
And how strong a signal is he sending now down to his left by passing that Fanatic of Xenagos?
Oh, that's a great point. He's saying he just created a red-green player that's going to pass him white cards.
Because that's a card that, even though it's 2 colors, can contend with Skyguard for first pick status. Here we
Absolutely,
look at his pack.
yeah. Skyguard, one of the best commons. Oh,
we
do
see
you
a
take
Loyal
Pegasus?
I think I saw an Excoriate, Chorus of Tides.
Yeah, I mean, he'll play white with almost any of the other colors. I think he's going to go Loyal Pegasus here. Again, cutting off white, hoping that he can get past good white cards in Theros. You know, none of those other cards are enough better than the Loyal Pegasus to justify adding another color to his deck. And yeah, that's exactly what he's done. Yeah, so Loyal Pegasus, you know, it looks like it needs help. Can't attack or block alone. But
it does need help, but it usually finds help in that color.
Yeah, especially like super, you want to be aggressive in this format. You know, the heroic decks, which are among the best white decks anyway, pretty much the best decks in the format are the heroic decks. So then you tend to have super quick, cheap, efficient creatures. The white does not.
Yeah,
there's a white drafter on his right. There's not much. Well, I mean, the pack might be thin. There's an Excoriate is the best white card.
There's also a Nyxborn Triton, which is a card people have performed very well with.
Yeah, no, that is
Online
surprisingly good. Yeah, it looks vanilla, right? It's just a 2/3, but the 2/3 bestow 5. I think it's actually among the best 5 commons in the format. Again, I was talking to Owen this morning. You know, what are the best 5 commons? He had Nyxborn Triton in the top 5. He had Nyxborn Wolf in the top 5 as well.
Yeah,
the 3/1 bestow in green.
No,
and
not Nyxborn Shieldmate.
No. But, I mean, the Skyguard that he first picked was in the top 5. So
I mean, people, it's in the contention for the
fall.
best common overall.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Top 5 commons in the set. So it's leaning blue here. Still no white cards. It does look like there's a white drafter on his right, but
Divination,
the thing is,
Stratus Walk, Faded Infatuation, perhaps my favorite artwork in the set.
So now he's thinking, am I adding a different color? Am I just taking the best blue card is probably the Stratus Walk?
All right, if he's looking for heroic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heroic enabler. It draws a card. It's decent.
He knows he's going to see white in pack 2.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. There may be a white drafter on his right cutting him off, but that guy's actually doing him a favor. And Owen is just going to get to reap the benefits in pack 2. Yeah, the guy
and can potentially push that opponent off, that player off of white on the way back.
Maybe. All right.
Nullify is going to the front of the pack.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, Born of the Gods is not the deepest set in draft. So, I mean, a lot of times you just run out of good cards 3-4 picks in, and then it's like, well, what can you do? If you can read a signal, that's great. Like, if you can find a color to move into to then get paid off in the 3rd pack, that can be good. And it does seem like the best cards here, they're not exciting, but they are blue. And so If I'm Owen, I'm thinking, well, I got a couple good white cards. Hopefully I can get a lot of white in the second pack since nothing has gone through him.
It looked like he was actually thinking about a Servant of Timurit there.
Oracle's Insight is a card I know you love.
I love that card. I don't know if how much I love it in blue-white heroic.
I mean, it triggers heroic.
I've done that.
And Divination is in this pack, too. The best cards are the blue ones. I mean, I guess the red cards are playable, but it seems like he's well-positioned in blue. He's just going to keep taking blue cards. He took Divination there?
No, I think he took the
Insight?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Insight's pretty good, even if you're aggressive.
So he's really just investing in pack 2 here.
Now there's another Divination, which is, again, a decent blue card.
We've seen this format be really fast, and there's times like tapping out for Divination on turn 3 while you're getting beat down, maybe by all the loyal Pegasus that are getting drafted to his right.
Yeah, exactly.
To his right. Or to his left.
No, his right.
Right, his right. Our left.
Right. I mean, the dream is you have an aggressive white heroic deck. You've got cheap creatures. You're suiting them up. You're triggering things. Floodside Serpent. I like Floodside Serpent.
I also like Springleaf Drum quite a bit.
Interesting. I would Serpent here. He's already got one Stratus Walk.
Right.
The combo of being able to attack and pick up an enchantment, which draws a card when it comes into play, is pretty powerful. And 4/4 for 5 is obviously good stats for a blue creature. I mean, it blocks with no help.
There's also Fate Foretold in the next pack.
Right.
Which is really exciting with the
Chosen of Heliod.
Yeah.
Okay, the blues finally dried up, but look, it took a while. We're down to 6
Hold It
cards.
Bay, huh? He doesn't. He's not considering Hold It Bay. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, you destroyed me with Holden Bay in a draft the other night, and I was like, is that card actually good?
I mean, it's fine.
It's good enough. It gets the job done. And here, maybe
sometimes
it makes the cut.
Sometimes you have to drive a nail in with the heel of his shoe. That's.
It does trigger heroic, which is what you kind of want all your tricks to do. The Kraken. Yeah, you take the Kraken. I mean, it's 7 mana. I may not play it. 7 mana is kind of expensive for a format that can be aggressive.
Probably not going to play it.
I mean, if he winds up with a sort of card advantage, Stratus Walk came back.
Wow.
You absolutely Stratus Walk here. Now he's got 2 of the draw a card enchantments to go with his Serpent already. That's nice. And it's also, if he needed any more confirmation that blue's open on his right, he just got it.
And by the way, he can easily abandon white.
That's true.
I mean, white,
he's got 2 cards.
He just,
It's his first pick and his second pick. And, I mean, the Skyguard in particular is one of the best commons in Born of the Gods. But he can abandon. I don't think he will, though.
I think he's going to get paid off incredibly well in this pack.
Right. Great Heart. Now he's got a third white card.
But he knew those Great Hearts were coming back.
They're not likely to make the cut.
It might even be. Was that a Great Heart, the last card, too?
I didn't see it.
Vanilla 2/4, not the most exciting.
Yeah, so Owen knows that he's not going to get much white in the third pack, but he also knows that it should get passed from the left. So basically, he's got his first pack and then maybe 1 or 2 more packs. If he doesn't have good white cards by then, he should give up. But plan A is to just open a Phalanx Leader and get past a Phalanx Leader. Yeah, the last 2 picks were both Great Hearts. Pretty funny. I think this deck is fine. I mean, he's got above average card quality for a Born of the Gods pack. He knows he's in a color he's going to get past in pack 3, and he's got a decent shot at getting past white here.
Right.
And the exciting thing about the white cards in Theros is that they're double white. Like Wingsteed Rider is the best common, it's double white. Nobody's going to move into white for that. Phalanx Leader is the best uncommon, again, double white. So you can definitely get past those cards if people have committed to other colors.
Right.
It's not like...
But I think he's like one Nessie and Asp away here from going blue-green.
Fair. And blue-green is one of the decks that I know he's willing to draft. Yeah, this opening pack, he's going to have to pick a direction in the next couple of picks.
Oh, there's 100-handed
I think we just picked a direction.
Oh, he's also looking at blue-black.
Nimbus Naiad? He can't... He's 100-handed one. That card's amazing.
But I guess maybe he's...
And it is double white, so it's definitely saying he's a white drafter. But it's... I mean, Nimbus Naiad, he knows he will play, and it's good. It's one of the better commons. But 100-handed one is one of the better rares. What do you do here? I 100-handed one.
I would 100-handed one, but yeah, okay.
Okay, and he does. So he's definitely...
But
now it's a little scary, right? He needs to get past white, or he's not going to get paid off. He's not.
Right. He knows he could stay safely in blue with the Naiad.
And 100-handed one is double white, so you don't really want to splash for it. You want to be able to play it on turn 4, which means you really want to have 8-9 planes in your deck at least.
Owen doesn't want to splash for anything.
Favorite Hoplite and a Spear of Heliod.
Wow.
Yeah. Did we say white was going to get past?
Yeah.
This is how he drew it up. All right. I mean, the Hoplite, having a 1-drop in this format is spectacular.
Just to give you an idea of how good the Hoplite is.
Yeah, he's debating Spear.
He's like Spear or Hoplite. Spear or Hoplite.
Yeah, it seems that he's legitimately debating it. I think he's going to go Spear.
Yeah, he's
it's
gonna
just
go
the more
Spear
powerful card, but having a good 1-drop is so powerful.
It
in this
also
format.
gives him a way to stabilize the board in white-blue. You know, you don't have a lot of traditional removal. That actually says, you know, if you're beating me down with a guy, I can, you know, threaten to kill it and
Spear
keep you at bay with some untapped mana.
Extremely powerful card.
There's that Nessian Asp we were talking about.
It's not a lot. Is that a Keepsake Gorgon?
That is a Keepsake Gorgon.
Wow, Keepsake Gorgon and Nessian Asp. And Freakus Mender. There's some black-green
Right,
cards.
blue-black and blue-green are both perfectly reasonable decks.
Scholar. I mean, Keepsake Gorgon is the best card in this pack. He's obviously not black. And it's, again, we talked about how Phalanx Leader, you can't move in for a double white card. You can't move in for a double black card either. I mean, Owen's going to take it. I bet it stays in his sideboard. I feel like he's probably just removing that from his opponent's draft pool since there was absolutely nothing for him. I mean, we're early enough that there's a chance
I think he's
switch.
willing to be blue-black. Like, if he gets past another Gorgon here, if he gets past a removal spell. That was
Ordeal.
Yeah,
Blue Ordeal.
Thassa.
Absolutely.
Read the Bones is a possibility if you're thinking about black.
That's his debate. Now he's got 3 colors all of a sudden. If he tries to read some bones here, it's because he wants to play that Keepsake Gorgon. I think you Ordeal.
Yeah, he is going to Ordeal.
Okay.
Which still doesn't preclude him from going black, and that's his deepest color. He knows he's going to be blue.
Sure. He's not. If he abandons a color, it's white.
Yeah.
But I mean, 100-handed one and Spear of Heliod. Can you really abandon both of those? He's got a Skyguard.
And a Skyguard, yeah.
But I mean, the 2 rares are both double white.
Oh, and look at this. Battle-wise Hoplite, God's Willing.
Yeah, Evangel and
he's looking at his
the
black
tapper.
cards.
There's a Freakus Cure. Huh. Battle-wise Hoplite, right?
Yeah, the guy next to him is going to get past the God's Willing and go, I have successfully cut off white.
Yes. Here's your reward for cutting off white. You
like,
get
I am
one
so
God's
good.
Willing.
I just cut Owen Turtenwald out of white.
Yeah, Battle-wise Hoplite is kind of one of the reasons the blue-white heroic deck can be so powerful. It's a 2-drop. It's a heroic guy.
This is going to be Cavalry Pegasus
I would
here.
think so. Don't know if it'll... How good do you think Cavalry Pegasus is? I find it winds up in the sideboard more often than the main deck.
I mean, I really like it as just kind of a finisher. I don't really see it as a 2-drop.
Yep.
You know, you get to get over a couple times with, you know, your Battle-wise
Giving somebody else flying is more relevant than being a 1/1 flyer.
Yeah. Traveling Philosophers present a compelling argument. And
Wow, Gift of Immortality.
I think Fate Foretold. Yes. Not Mirror of Fate.
Wrong Fate. There you
There we go.
Yeah, it's another one of these enchantments that draws a card when it comes into play. So it's both a heroic trigger and it's fuel for that serpent.
Yeah, I mean, right, with the serpent, provided he can attack cleanly with the serpent.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, sometimes you have the serpent and you want to leave him on
There's a
God's Willing. Yeah.
Wow.
No, white is wide open on his left. Yeah, God's Willing is the best common heroic enabler. It's just, this format normally...
It might be my favorite card in this whole set.
Yeah, no, it looked so innocuous when Theros came out because this effect, like target creature gains pro color, it's been floating around in sort of every limited format for, years and years and years. But it's better in this format than it has ever been in the history of time. Like, so often you're investing a giant pile of enchantments and bestows, and you've got this one awesome creature, and you just need to defend it. And now you can defend it for 1 mana and re-trigger all the heroic stuff. Just such a powerful card in this format.
Every time I play a card in Theros Draft, I just am clenching and crossing my fingers and going, please don't have stymied hopes.
Yes.
I think Ray of Revelation here is the clean pick, yeah.
Definitely. Ray of Dissolution, but yeah.
Ray of Dissolution, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, most people like to have at least one Destroy an Enchantment effect, and this is among the best. You want to have it at instant speed. The fact that gain life is often relevant. Wow, Freakus Mender still in that pack? Is that what that is?
Yeah, and we've just been sending Freakus Menders around the table here.
Yeah, time to start sticking them in the sideboard to make sure somebody doesn't move into an awesome green-black deck late. Yeah, that's just taking that last breath.
Yeah, last breath is fine.
That
Last
might
breath
make the
also
cut.
triggers your heroic. You can last breath your Battle-wise Hoplite.
Yeah.
Scry.
Yeah.
And then counters it because the Battle-Wise Hoplite becomes a 3.
Yeah.
You don't gain any life, but sometimes that's what you got to do.
Evangel. How good is Evangel of Heliod?
I mean, it's fine. Like, I mean, people don't generally try to play it. I like it a little better in this format if I have Springleaf Drum.
Sure. I mean, it's so expensive.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely expensive.
I can make a whole bunch of guys, but so expensive. Wow, so that pack was exactly the way Owen wanted it to go.
You like it a little bit better with something like Spear of Heliod?
Sure.
Or a Phalanx Leader, or...
Yeah, no, and he can go control. His deck's slightly schizophrenic here, right? He's got some aggro with like Cavalry Pegasus and
then he's got a longer game with Floodtide Serpent and
Oracle's Insight.
Yeah.
He's got a Divination.
Loyal Pegasus is a fine card to hold an Oracle's Insight. Like, you know what? Just you stay here and do this. I have a new job for you.
Yeah, but I mean, if he gets the draw where Battle-Wise Hoplite goes to the air with Stratus Walk, just like all of this, he can attack super quickly. But then he's also he's got some.
He's also got some weird sort of like Ordeal of Thassa fun he can have where he can return or put a counter on something.
Oh, the serpent can start
and then
recursing
return the Ordeal of Thassa and then move counters around.
It's a slightly schizophrenic build for this point at Owen, but he's got depth, he's got power. I think he's very happy with the way this deck is coming so far. Another Ordeal of Thassa.
But I mean, he puts Traveling Philosopher. There's the Nimbus Naiad.
So Nimbus Naiad or Ordeal has got to be the pick here. It's not Traveling Philosopher.
I feel like he just wants a couple more creatures.
You go Nimbus Naiad? Yeah, I mean, the Ordeals, they can be so powerful. Like an unanswered Ordeal at the beginning of the game is one of the most ridiculously powerful things that can happen
but
in
he doesn't
the format.
have any Hopeful Eidolons. He doesn't have any
Right, that's the thing.
Nyxborn,
It's like he's taking the safe card rather than the variance card. Because like sometimes you'll have the Ordeal and nobody to put it on, or you'll draw the Ordeal at the end of the game when you don't have anybody that can attack with it. Like it's got to be the swingiest cards in the set. Like sometimes they're just game-breakingly ridiculous, opponent life-tilting crazy power. I may resemble that remark. But then other times they're just bad. Favorite Hoplite.
Favorite Hoplite.
Yeah, that is just what the doctor ordered. Yeah. I mean, he sees a time defeat go by. He'll want to remember that exists when he plays against the Green Mage. But Favorite Hoplite's an easy pick. It's cheap. It can become very powerful. It picks up an Ordeal spectacularly well. Goes to the air with Loyal Pegasus. I mean, the other Pegasus.
Do you think the player feeding Owen has some idea? Like maybe he's like, I think I might be the only white drafter.
I mean, the Favorite Hoplite came through. What did the other guy take over Favorite Hoplite?
Do we know what the player to Owen's right took over Favorite Hoplite?
Yeah, the white's gone.
No, there's a
Divine Verdict?
I think that card's fine. I think
Yeah.
it's a little underrated.
It sounds like a good rare may have been in the pack with the Favorite Hoplite. So he goes Omen Speaker there. Yeah, you like Divine Verdict a little more than most people. I mean, I play it, but
I mean, I like
getting
it
a good 2-drop.
I like it generally in red white at the top of my curve, where it's just super aggressive, and you force them to. They just have to block.
Yeah, getting 2-drops and 1-drops, getting a good curve. Omen Speaker slots in perfectly. Snarecaster?
Yeah, it's definitely the lean in Snarecaster. I mean, I don't think his deck is schizophrenic enough that he wants an Opaline Unicorn.
Right, agreed. Yeah, and it may be that he's deep enough that he can just abandon some of the late game stuff, like Oracle's Insight. I mean, I think you still play it. It just seems like it's so powerful. But I mean, he can. It seems to me that he's got enough cards to just go focused aggressive. I mean, he'll play exactly how much of the late game stuff he decides he wants to.
Sealock Monster or Prescient Chimera?
I like Sealock Monster. I mean, it's a good blocker if that's what you need. And then against the blue mage, it's so powerful.
Yep.
Yeah, Sealock Monster. Yeah, I mean, eventually you can give them an island if they don't have one, right, and start attacking with it. But that's a little on the slow side. I mean, it works. It gets the job done if you're playing defense. But when you run into the blue mage and you're just like, I have a 5-mana 5/5 in my blue deck.
And it'll let you fight against green decks really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a good card.
Is there a God's Willing? There is a God's Willing.
Easy pick. Wow. I like Owen's deck a lot.
You can have like 4. What, can you have 4 Farika's Menders at this table? Or
Well, one of them's an Owen sideboard, hanging out with the keepsake Gorgon that he doesn't want his opponents to have either. Hottest player on the tour right now, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, talking to the players on his team, they feel the best player on the Pro Tour right now.
Maybe.
Just in terms of pure skill level, that there's nobody playing better Magic right now than Owen Turtenwald.
Yeah. He's ranked 12th, but I mean, that's kind of 12th with a bullet, right?
Sure.
2 Grand Prix wins in the last 3 months and the Sunday Super Series win. These guys, this table is X and 2. So these guys all went 6-2 yesterday. There's 14 players who went better than 6 and 2.
Right.
So that's essentially table 1 and most of table 2. And then there's about 40 players that come in at 6-2. So
wow.
Very much right in the thick of it. Triton Fortune Hunter.
Yeah, Triton Fortune Hunter is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice.
Especially if you're bouncing enchantments with your Flood Titan
Oh my
Serpent.
God. Jeez.
You start to do some really disgusting
Stratus walk
stuff.
that guy, draw a card, pick up the draw 2 cards when you Stratus walk that guy.
Yeah.
And then you pick up the Stratus walk with the Serpent.
Yeah. There's a Null. There's a Traveling Philosopher. He might just want the body, yeah.
Wow. This is like constructed level blue-white control. I guess he doesn't have a Phalanx leader. That's the thing that's... Like, if you could just draw this up from scratch.
Doesn't have the Wingsteed Rider. Doesn't have a ton of heroic.
Yeah, but instead he's got like 100-handed one and Spear of Heliod.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't get the good uncommons, and he didn't get the best Theros common, but he got rares. Rares plural is always a good
Takes
sign.
Nylea's presence. He thinks Rashad's at the table, and he's kind of drafting him.
Yeah, it is late for a presence. I mean, green seems underdrafted.
So Testing Griffin, Breaching Hippocamp. Breaching Hippocamp's a card that's gotten a little bit better with Born of the Gods.
You can surprise trigger inspired.
Yes, and we've seen some goofy stuff happening with that.
He's going to kill a unicorn.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a 5-color mage out there, probably isn't a 5-color mage at the table because the Nylea's presence and the unicorn are still available this late. I mean, there's some decks that love Opaline Unicorn, and there's some times where sort of everybody's got the aggressive heroic decks, and nobody wants it. That's
Volpine Goliath going.
Their green seems underdrafted.
Yeah.
There you go. Owen Turtenwald drafts a beauty. Just puts on a clinic in how to draft blue-white constructed. Blue-white heroic.
Well, blue-white constructed might be.
Yeah. No,
I'd be curious to see what he grades this. He looks a little like this
good,
could have
not great.
He looks a little good, not great. I think he really one Wingsteed Rider, one Phalanx leader, one premium common uncommon. Like he's got the Spear of Heliod. He's got.
That's an awfully greedy perspective to have. Like
I'm curious to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if we were doing coverage draft 5 right now, right, either of us would be very happy to have this
delighted.
deck.
Absolutely.
I'm curious if Owen is happy to have this deck.
Interesting.
He looked a little not glum, but a little like so close.
I don't know. I mean, to me, the way he drafted Born of the Gods was just perfect. I mean, at some level, sure, maybe you can imagine the way in which things could have gone later, right? Better. Yeah. Somebody could have opened Phalanx leader on his left. That would have been even better. But all you can really do is...
Someone did open Spear of Heliod. And
exactly. All you can really do, though, is draft your seat.
Yeah.
Right? If you've drafted the right deck for your seat and the cards that came by, that's kind of the best you can do. Like, you can't control what's going to get opened around you, especially if you're talking uncommons and rares.
And we don't know that there are Wingsteed Riders. Sometimes...
Yeah, the guy on his right could have one, but...
But sometimes those cards aren't there.
Right.
You know, sometimes you're in the shallow end of the card pool, sometimes you're in the deep end of the card pool.
Right. But, I mean, I feel like for his seat, he made the right early picks.
Yeah,
like, he opened one of his favorite commons. You know, he opened one of his favorite commons in his favorite color. He took it with the Crow and Skyguard. You know, he got a read on the table pretty quickly, I think, that, okay, you know, there's not a lot of white, but, I'll move into blue because that's what's available. And he continued to get past blue in pack 3. You know, he knew that he was likely to get past white in the second pack, so he could take that 100-handed one, even though he'd been cut off. Like, he only had 2 good white cards, but he took the 100-handed one over Nimbus Naiad, fully expecting that for the rest of pack 2 at least he could get white cards, and he did.
Right.
Just a clinic on sort of positional drafting and understanding, all right, what's going to come from my left, what's going to come from my right. Loved it.
Okay, well, the players are now going to take their cards, register them, go build these decks, and get ready for play. We're going to go see what they think, and we're going to send it back to the news desk and catch you up on everything that's going to happen here on day 2 of Pro Tour Born of the Gods. Randy Buehler, Brian David Marshall, back to the desk.
And Brian David Marshall there for you. Thank you so much to the gentleman with the call on the second draft of the day, the weekend. And that is the only draft that we will see today. Well, it was the second draft of the day because I was online.
I mean, it's not the only draft I'm going to see today. It's later tonight.
Quite. All right. So, Rich Hagan sitting here with Zach Hill and Rashad Miller. Over the next 30 minutes, while the players build their decks for these next 3 rounds, we're going to take you through everything that happened yesterday, and we're going to take you through all the big teams that matter, all the draft pods that matter, and most important, who's on top of the standings. So why don't we take a look at our opening leaderboard as we start day 2. The top 20 players right now in the field. We take a look. There you see the big board. And the sole perfect record belongs to the United States and to Michael Hetrick. He arrived at 6 p.m. the night before the Pro Tour with minimal testing. He's been super busy playing Living End in Modern and just went, yeah, just beat everyone. Li Shi-chan of Hong Kong, perfect record 7-0-1. And then you see all the 7-1. So picking out there, Canada doing very nicely with Sean McLaren, and on the other side, Maxim Grin. You've got Florian Pils of Germany. There's a lot of Germany in that list. See, Pils, Seibold. Dickman is the modern master. He was gutted to only, air quotes, be 7-1. Felt he had an easy matchup to go to 8-0. And he said, well, you want to be perfect, right? I think he has a phenomenal chance of making the top 8. Gabriel, not Nassif from France, but Nguyen, 7-1. You see Tim Rivera there. People tweeted me last night, don't forget Tim Rivera, terrific player. He really is, plays lots of different card games, very, very good at all of them. On we go. On the other side, Thomas Hendricks of the Netherlands. It's been a while since we've had a 7-1 from the Dutchies, doing very nicely. Chris Fennell, limited specialist. Let's see if he can get from 7-1 to 10-1 this morning. Andrew Shrout rounds out the 7-1s. Johnny Hot Sauce on Magic Online. Now, the 6-2s you start seeing there are many, many more on 6-2. 6-2 is basically where kind of 40, 50 players reside. We're going to show you the draft pods later on. But guys, back at the desk here, what I want to do over this next period is take stock of the big story of the weekend, because teams have just exploded. Zach, why are teams so important in Magic these days?
Teams are so important in Magic these days because there's more Magic players than ever before. PTs have gotten harder and harder. It's not like it used to be where you could do a few drafts. Now everybody plays Magic Online, good at limited, and with the super teams like both the Channel Fireball teams, like Team Revolution, using their entire lineup to design powerful, highly optimized decks, it's harder than it ever has been before to just show up to an event with a deck that you brewed by yourself and do well, or with a couple of your friends. So what we're seeing are a ton of different teams sort of coagulating from different playtest groups and joining together to produce their own results. And I think that as we see by the current leaderboard, we may have had a little bit of a dethroning of the traditional kind of big 3 teams.
Yeah, we're certainly going to go through a bunch of teams that have made their mark through the weekend. Why don't we start that now? And I'm going to give you a team that we did not really see coming into the weekend. Perhaps that's what they were cross about. This is 13 Angry Men. Why don't we take a look at their record? Now, you see, basically a United States team with Eduardo Borges of Brazil there. Now, remember that 4-4 is the benchmark for being allowed back through the doors, as it were, to play on day 2. So everyone except Andre Prost, who has Pro Tour top 8s to his name, and Greg Ogrentz, where the grass is always greener on the right side of Ogrentz, at 3-5, he missed out. But everyone else is through. The 4-4s realistically cannot make the top 8, because even if they go 3-0 in draft, 7-4, 5-0 in modern, 12-4, that's usually the benchmark for where things get into tie breaks for 7, 8, 9, somewhere around there. And if you start the day at 4-4, your tie breaks are just nowhere near as good, Rashad, as people who are 7-1 and 8-0, right?
Yeah, exactly. But actually, if we could get that graphic up, because it begs to ask a question. I only see 10 Angry Men here. and I just wonder, can we not fit 13 on the graphic?
No, I think maybe it was a visa issue. Perhaps that's what they ran with. They did all the testing. They had the perfect deck, and then they just couldn't get into Spain. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But we did see Hunt playing this amazing Amulet deck.
Wasn't it fun?
You know what? And his one loss was the one that we actually got on camera, but it was probably the most exciting loss that I've ever seen. he had 2 pack triggers just waiting for him, and was 1 mana short from paying 2 packs, 9 mana. With only 3 land in play, I want to say 3 to 4 land. They were all Karus or the I don't know what the guild. They weren't guild gates then. They were the guild land from the original Wrath, whatever you want to call those.
Sunhome.
Yeah, those.
Okay, I can inform you, they kept the anger for the 3 members of the team who didn't qualify. So they distilled the other 3 into the 10.
You know, I just feel like that name is a little bit restricting. You know, if you lose a team member, you scramble to get another one.
You should let them know that.
I'll talk to those guys. All 10 of them.
Well, as they say in Scandinavia, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that's where we're going to go now, to a team called Almost Finished, which I really approve because that's a silly name. Well done. And as you can see there, almost everyone through. Hannu Vallin, the only Finn not making it through. And there's a pleasing symmetry to going Finland, US, Finland, US, Finland, US, Finland on there. Anssi Alkio, for those of you who don't know, is a tremendous online player, a player with a great history in trading card games generally. He is well known in the global community, and this is the first time he's put together a decent run at the Pro Tour. I think this is his 5th PT, maybe his 4th, and he's struggled, quite frankly. But now, seems like he's getting there. Maybe that's partly about team. Also worth mentioning Max Scherblum. He has form. He was in the top 8 of the original Modern Pro Tour in Philadelphia. Kind of lost in the shuffle, but he was in that top 8. So good to see him at 5-3. Zach, again, just to re-emphasize what we're looking at, what kinds of records. From 5-3, you need what to make it in, do you reckon?
Basically need to go undefeated.
Okay.
You might get to draw in the last round, but that's kind of, you're still in contention, but you need to put on a crazy run.
So you start with the 3-0 in draft. So you take care of getting rid of the 7 others in your pod. All the 5 and 3 tables, basically, only one person emerges from each of those tables with any kind of chance, because everyone else loses at least once, and at that point, you're done. So 8 and 3s, then they come back and then they go win, 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 win to 12-3. And then let's see what happens in the last round. Okay, so that's almost finished. Now we get to a team that didn't bother with an ultra cool name. In fact, they didn't really bother with the name at all. It's Austria, Germany. Zach.
I think it's pretty Austro-German to not bother with a name, but we see Florian Pill sitting near the top of the standings at 7-1, Christian Sabold, Patrick Dickman, Lucas Tajak, all Germans leading the pack on this team right now, 7-1, 6-2. We see Pro Tour veteran, I think 2 top 8s, Nico Boni, Valentin Mockel down to 4-4, and you've got Oliver Polak-Rotman, Pierre Dejean, Karsten Linden, Thomas Holzinger, another Pro Tour top 8 competitor.
Yeah, former Platinum Pro.
Yeah, exactly. They made day 2. Only Justin Robin, Wenzel Krautmann didn't. If my goal was to top 8 a European Grand Prix, I would have to pick this team. It's like almost every top 8 over the last 3 years on the same team.
Yeah, it is the sort of the European GP All-Stars. You've got to say, these, for a team that is not either Channel Fireball A or B, Rashad, these guys must be super happy with where they are, because they have 3 horses right at the top of the standing. It's not like, we got a bunch of people into day 2, because, day 2 is great, but it's top 8s that you want to measure yourselves by if you're really a top-tier team. They got 3 guys at 7-1. That's crazy good.
That's actually the second best record that's going on in this tournament, because there's only one person who's 8-0, but I hate to be the person who brings up team inconsistencies again. Can we bring that graphic up just one more time?
Yeah, go on then.
Just one more time. Just one more time.
What are you going to complain about this time?
That's Rashad. Can't ever be happy.
It's just the OCD in me. I see that there's one person from Switzerland on this team who happens to be Nico Boni, who's, kind of their captain in a way. We actually saw him the first round of the tournament because he was in the pod with William Jensen, who we watched draft, and that was his first round opponent, which he ended up beating Billy in the first round of that draft. So it's kind of sad to see that he's at the low end of the team's well-doing, but he still has a chance. And the fact that these 3 rounds are draft means that there will be some 5 and 3s who actually have to have a chance to continue.
Yeah, that's the reverse of what we're saying
Yeah,
about
exactly.
getting rid of 7.
Right.
You are guaranteed that someone at the table emerges
Because
to be
that,
8-3.
that guarantee isn't there if these are just regular Swiss rounds.
No, they just all keep beating each other, and that's the end. But
Exactly.
3 rounds from now, we've winnowed out 7 of the 8. 1 of each 8 goes through. All right, that's Austria-Germany. Let's move on to the Pantheon. Now, I thought about the Pantheon. You generally complete the phrase, the Pantheon of, and you're like, is it the Pantheon of gods? Is it the Pantheon of heroes? Is it the Pantheon of why did we let someone in the public choose our team name?
Is it the soldier of the Pantheon?
Well, these are the soldiers of the Pantheon. Let's see how many have perished on day 1. Brad Nelson's gone at 2-5, a couple of 3-5s, Sam Black and Patrick Chabin. It's easy to say some big names are out because they only have big names on this team. Why don't you take it away, Rashad? Give us a sense of how they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, for anyone who has been following the Pro Tour coverage, from Pro Tours ago, you're thinking, isn't there a team that isn't here anymore? But, they're still here. Same people, different shirt.
They just rearranged the letters of STARCITYGAMES and it became CFB
I'm not very
Pantheon.
good with anagrams.
It's an anagram.
But
Just trust me.
I do trust you.
Yeah.
I do trust you. But, this team has 6 Hall of Famers on it. And Owen Turtenwald, who's fresh off of a few wins. He just won his Super Series down in Seattle.
Yep.
And, he's got a couple of back-to-back GP1 finishes at the top. And he is at 6-2 along with John Finkel, Reed Dukes at 6-2. Kai Buda, who's at 5-2-1, still in the thick of it with Paul Ritsu, Godinez Villagares. Actually, Godinez Villagares is at 5-3. Rich Horn 5-3, and Tom Martell is also at 5-3, and rounding out the 5-3s on this awesome team.
Yeah, I'm actually quite impressed with both Martell and Nassif. Remember that Nassif, we saw him on camera at 0-3, playing in the first round of Modern, and he was about to draw with another Frenchman, Timothée Simoneau, World Magic Cup champion, and Simoneau conceded, and that's kind of, well, there's your 1 in a million shot of actually doing something in this tournament because you're now 1-3, congratulations. Nassif, with his blue-white control, has gone undefeated in Modern as a result. He's 5-3. Tom Martell was tweeting about how frustrated he was at 2-3, but he rolled up his sleeves and went 5-3, tweeting again last night. Bed, let's get a sweat on tomorrow and actually make some people pay for leaving me in the tournament kind of thing. So I would watch out for both of those, perhaps ahead of some of the people who are just that 1 round ahead. Again, because they are in pods of the 5-3s, someone emerges and you can bet that Nassif and Martell think it can be them. That said, Nassif was 0-3 in draft yesterday, so he's got to...
Let's not bring up those facts. Those numbers, let's not support actions with facts.
You don't want math-based formulas?
No.
Okay.
You're not a number scientist.
I'm not a number scientist.
That is true. All right, so that is Channel Fireball Part 1. Let's go to Channel Fireball Part 2, who were the original Channel Fireball. So, Zach, why don't you talk to us about these guys?
Yeah, so again, another one of the traditional super teams for whom a lot of other players emulated their model. Team Channel Fireball. We've got Brian Kibler at the top of the standings. Benjamin Lundquist, former national team member, making a bit of a comeback, also sitting at 6-2. Ben Stark, Eric Froelich, Frank Karsten, coverage reporter and Hall of Famer. David Ochoa, LSV Luis Scott Vargas, Kenji Samura in a resurgence, all sitting at 5-3, joined by Josh Utter-Layton, Pat Cox, and PV Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa. Also making it to day 2, but basically out of top 8 contention, the entire rest of the team. Yuza, Shuhei Nakamura, Shahar Shenhar, Brock Parker. So on one hand, you've got to consider this a major success. You advance the entire team into day 2. On the other hand, your best record sitting at 6-2, I've got to say, if you're looking for the best performing team, I'd give it to Austria and Germany.
So far, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think we might see one later that gives us cause to go, wow, how did they do that? But yeah, the 3-7-1s for Austria-Germany, very interesting. It is also worth pointing out, though, that 3 rounds from now, by the time we head back to Modern, these boards are going to look very, very different indeed. If you start saying some of those 5-3s become 8-3s, you start seeing 6-2s become 9-2s, those draft pod winners are suddenly going to look like serious top 8 contenders rather than in the middle of the pack 53rd place 6-2s. So this morning, things are going to change a lot. All right, that's Channel Fireball. Time for an elaborate ruse now, and that means we head across to Rashad, which I think is highly appropriate.
I feel like the ruse is the fact that none of these names are pronounced the way that it looks like they are.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
It's pretty elaborate.
That's almost certainly true that you could mispronounce every single one of those names.
Well, you know,
and I probably have.
So we have the top of their standings with Ali Rade, who is Ole Rade. That's as close as I can get.
Next.
Well, 6-2, Hall of Famer. We have Matej Zedelkai. That was pretty good. Exactly how it looks. 6-2. We have Elias Watfield at 6-2. Ian Flock is at 5-3. Dennis Rashid has a couple of, more than a couple of PT top eights. At least two that are back to back.
Yep.
And he's at 5-3, along with Ludwig Londos, who's also 5-3. And then they have a bunch of 4-4s like Joel Larson or Swedish Kibler. I like it. I think it's a compliment.
He's Swedish Kibler, and Brian is American Swedish Kibler.
I wish someone would call me Swedish somebody. It's the Swedish part. That's
I'll
the
do
compliment.
it just for you, Rashad.
I appreciate it. Willie Edo at 4-4, was along with Stanislav Sivka, who's a Pro Tour champion. Simon Gortson, who joins us on the coverage teams at the European GPs. You know, he's a cool guy.
He is, but it's very disappointing that he didn't make it through. And Lucas Jaklowski with his top 8 from Worlds 2010 at 3-5. This team looked really solid, Zach, through most of the day, and the 3-6-2s are very good. I think they will actually feel that they are, I don't know, let's say 5 match wins down on where they feel they should be. So a kind of Adel 5-3, Larson 5-3, Flock 6-2, Londos 6-2 would feel to them, I think, more where they wanted and felt they could have been. It felt like they were just, it was nearly there.
Well, when I was talking to Willie, he absolutely loved his Jun deck. I was talking to Simon last night. He also seemed pleased overall with the team's preparation and performance, but sometimes, you know, variance happens. Sometimes you make one, you know, key mistake that isn't really reflective of your overall ability or preparedness, and that cost you a match. So.
Yeah, and when you say that, a match, think, you've got 12 people up on the board there. That means 96 matches got played yesterday.
Exactly.
So the 5 matches I'm talking about there, you know, that's a 5% swing here and there. And it's just not huge because Magic is a game of variance sometimes as well. So that's Team Elaborate Ruse. And I'm going to stick with you, Zach, while you tell us all about the team that I still really want to call Team Canada, despite all flag evidence to the contrary. Here is Team Face-to-Face Games.
Face-to-face games, again, the heading out the pack, not actually any Canadians. You've got Jacob Wilson, Josh McLean, both at 6-2. I guess you've got Alexander Hayne, who's been on a tear over the last 6 months. Pro Tour Avison Restored champion and Canadian, also at 6-2. But, you know, he's further down the list, so USA. Ben Moore, 5-3, also a Canadian. Sam Party, Glenn McElhewen, Alex Majleton, Brian Braundoon, all at 5-3. Now, again, Majleton and Braundoon, veterans of the independent circuit. Majleton, couple GP top 8s. I ran into him at a PTQ, and he was saying basically, like, he got picked up by Team Face-to-Face. He thought he was having to go at this alone. I think this is an example of people banding together and realizing that you've got to have one of these power teams to give you the best chance of success here today.
I think this is a massive morning for Alex Majleton. He is, I think you can argue, the finest Affinity player in the world.
Yeah.
Affinity is set up to be one of the top decks this weekend. If he can get out of his draft pod without a loss, he does have to go to 8-3. But if he can do that, then he gets to play his robots again. And it feels to me like if he's ever going to make a Pro Tour top 8, this is the kind of day where the stars could align for him.
Right, he's already has multiple GP top 8s with that robots deck in Modern. So I can only imagine that if he can give himself a great position going into Modern, why wouldn't he win?
That's true. I mean, he's done it before. Now, we've also got, rounding out the day 2 competitors, Stephen Wolfman, Todd Anderson, and John Stern. At 4-4, some of the kind of bigger name players on the team. Not making it, Lucas Seau and Dave Shields.
That's still a very solid day for face-to-face games. Now, a new team I want to tell you just a tiny little bit about, because as we were wading through all the data from yesterday, this team came up. This is Flipside Gaming. Let's just show you these guys. Half a dozen dozen of them. They're all from the United States. And I just wanted to show this is what you can do if you don't have a super big star on your team. You're not crazy experienced. I want to say all these players have decent experience at GP and Pro Tour level. Butch is a Grand Prix runner-up recently. Ingram's been playing plenty on the PT, sort of played about 10 PTs or so. Bobby Victory, RV, there at 5-3. Brian Gottlieb has one of the highest constructed win percentages coming into this event. Dan Jordan has been around top 16s, top 32s. But to a lot of you at home, those are not household United States names. But put the 6 of them in a room, all 6 of them make day 2. Butcher in decent shape. He came to Paris last weekend, was right in contention in Legacy through to just the penultimate round, I think, of Swiss. And so I just want to really just give them a little bit of time just to say, well done, guys. 6 out of 6, small team, no superstars, no ranked players. Good job.
I think the only other team we've seen do that we've gone through so far was Channel Fireball, and that's a pretty good company to be at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they do have multiple GP top 8 competitors on there. I mean, even Rob Victory is a finalist.
Yeah. Yeah, these are super solid guys.
I mean, I kind of wanted them to win so that...
Victory for victory.
Well, Rob Victory. You let us sink in.
I'll internalize that.
Moving on, Team MTG Mint Card is up next, or as I like to think of them, the Pan Asia Pacific All-Stars. Zach, why don't you tell us a little bit about these guys?
Yeah, so you've got Li Chen from Hong Kong. We've seen his name come to the top of the standings a lot over the past couple of years. He is undefeated at 7-0-1. Dropping significantly now, we have Wei Quan Wong, Mingqiu Zhang, Kelvin Chu and all at 5-3. Chapman Sim, also of Singapore, 4-4. Ken Yukihiro, Jeffrey Chan, also making day 2 at 4-4. Former level 6 at the time, platinum, whatever you want to call it, highest level pro, Su Xing Kuo, the captain of the World Magic Cup winning Taiwanese team, not making day 2 at 3-5. And then Bo Lee just not having a great tournament, dropping out at 0-5.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, you went there too.
Sitting in between the two of you, I've just got to say.
It's got to be heaven.
That's how I describe it. That's exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth.
He's a lucky, lucky lad. Let's move on to...
I need to touch on these the top two players from... Just a little bit, just a small touch.
A small touch.
Small touch.
Okay.
Go on then.
They were playing the Blue Moon deck.
Right, Blue Moon.
The Blue Moon deck, which, if you didn't get a chance to see that, almost mono blue. Blood Moons, Master of Waves.
Teferi, Mage of Jolfur.
Blood Moon.
Blood Moon.
That's the red card, Blood Moon.
That is a red card.
You said it was almost blue. The deck.
The moon was blue.
Oh. Is that why they call it Blue Moon?
I'm not sure. We're going to have to ask.
That's what Rashad calls it.
That's what I call it.
That's what we're going to call it.
Okay.
All right, carry on. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right. The 1%ers are up next. That's quite a decent name. And this is a group of essentially all Canada except Kai Burnett, Honorary, and again, very, very decent. Now, Maxim Grin, he was on a team with Lucas Xiao that came second place at a team at GP around about 18 months ago, lost out to Dave Williams, Paul Rietzel. That crowd there. Sam Tharmer-Atman, 6-2. Matt Sperling, the third member of that team, of course. Kai Burnett, 6-2. Rich Crawper, 4-4. And only Edgar Magalhaes, who was very prominent at the Legacy GP last weekend in Paris, he came to. He's the only one who didn't make it in. But this is sort of almost become Team Canada because it genuinely does have the right flag in all the little boxes. So well done to most of them. A couple more to show you. And Rashad, let's be honest here. When we say teams, we mean a lot of different things sometimes. For the most part, it's kind of shorthand for playtest teams. So that's a bunch of people either sitting in a room together testing, or working in a private room on Magic Online testing, or sending private emails to each other testing. But fundamentally, the idea is of a closed circle of people who are having the same goals, sharing the same information, often arriving at the same deck or pick orders for draft and so on. So that's what we're talking about generally when we say teams. That said, there are lots of people who spend a lot of their time playing with one team when they're at a European GP, for example, but then when they actually sit down for that locked room, they are with another group entirely. Shahar Shenhar is a good case in point. He is in the room with Team Channel Fireball, but the shirt, he's MTG Madness. And Revolution, which is the team, Rashad, we're going to look at now, they have lots of people in different shirts at different times kind of thing.
They actually do. And, whoa, that's a good name. I am not familiar with Andre Arojak.
Alexander Arojak?
Ooh, I did pretty well for first time.
You did.
Pretty well. But this is Team Revolution. They're led by Hall of Famer Raphael Levy. And he basically got all these guys together and said, you know what, we need to make our own super team. We need to play test. We need to have all these great minds together. And we got some great numbers up here with Andre at 6-2 and Andre Banu at 5-2-1. Melissa DeTora, who's also one of the flagships of that team, at 5-3. Jan Guthman, 5-3. Mark Jacobson, 5-3. And Jeremy Dasani, who just won the Pro Tour, is also at 5-3.
Yeah, I think the key to this team is, again, let's check in with them at lunchtime, because you have essentially 7 or 8 players who may or may not be in the same pod. We'll check some of those in just a moment for you. But fundamentally, let's say you got 7 people at 5-3 tables. One of them coming out at 8-3, that's about what you'd expect. Get 2 of them out, that's a good result. Get 3 of the 7 out, and suddenly you're like, hey, wow, we've got 4 or 5 horses still in this going back into Modern. And then that's like proper success, because you can think, yep, we've got 5 of the last 50, roughly, coming back in. Because that's about the number of people that are still going to be live once we hit Modern this afternoon. All right, so that's Team Revolution. We got one more team to look at, and so far we're pretty happy with Austria, Germany. We're very happy with the original Channel Fireball as our kind of top 2 successes. A couple of smaller teams that have done well. Let's see what TCG Player have been up to. Let's take a look. Zach.
Yeah, again, I mean, talking about dominant performances, you have Chris Fennell, who was kind of brought on the team as a special agent, leading the pack at 7-1 along with Andrew Shrout. Craig Wesco, Stephen Mann, Harry Corvasi, all very, very solid at 6-2. Ari Lax, who's routinely showed up with one of the best constructed decks in the room for the last couple of years, at 5-3. Matthew McCullough also 5-3. And making day 2, Mark Laligue, coming in at 4-4. Joe DeMestrio and 2-time Grand Prix winner Seth Manfield just missed it at 3-5. And probably the biggest name on the team, arguably, although there are a lot of big names on the team, Conley Woods actually falling behind at 2-5 and dropping from the last round.
Rashad, we mentioned that for Revolution, if they could get 5 back into Modern in contention, that would be a major result. When you look at that board, because you've got Fennell and Shroud at 7-1, unless they go 0-3 in the draft, which somebody will, of course.
Yes.
But, you know, unless they are that 1 of 8, they will both be in contention. And you have to think that some of those 5-3s, either McCullough or particularly Lax, can 3-0 their pod, and then you've got Wesco, Man, Corvasi at 6-2 needing 2-1 to still be live. Their 5-man test for the top 50 is looking in pretty decent shape. I think they've done pretty well.
Yeah, they actually have. And, you know, this is just the perfect head start that you want. And I really think that their acquisition of Chris Fennell as a limited expert is exactly what they needed. Because, you know, they were already coming out with great constructed decks at all these tournaments. And I think the teams are starting to figure out that there's a formula that needs to exist for your team. And one important part of that formula, even though there's only 6 rounds of draft, is you need to know how to draft. And you need to get someone on your team who that's what they do. They can look at a draft format, dissect it, and tell you this is exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, and they sent Chris Fennell to GP Mexico City last weekend with Craig Wesco and Mark Laligue. Now, Craig Wesco had one of the worst sealed decks known to man. He'd have had more chance of winning with 60 basic land in his deck. It was terrible. But Mark Laligue won the whole thing, while Chris Fennell sat there and learnt the limited format and then taught these guys. Let's see how they do this morning. So that's a bunch of the big teams for you. Big picture, though, everyone sits down, tables of 8. They can only play people within the table of 8 for the next 3 rounds. We call those pods. You saw one of them drafting this morning with Owen Turtenwald. Let's take you through the top pods and show you who's going to be battling who down the second morning of Pro Tour Born of the Gods. Let's start with draft pod 1. And here we go. We have Michael Hetrick of the United States at 8-0. We have Li Shi Chan of Hong Kong Kong 7-0-1. Then all the rest of the table are at 7-1. You've got McLaren, Pills, Alex Andrup in his first PT, Christian Seibold of Germany, Patrick Dickman, the king of modern, and Matthias Hunt, the man with the amulet of vigor. We're going to play a little guessing game, boys. Rashad, pick a winner of Draft Pod 1. Who there will go 3-0?
Who will go through in this pod?
Just so you know, I'm writing these down so I can brag later.
This is gonna be documented?
Oh, yeah.
This is a pretty good pod. It's hard to pick a clear winner there, but you know
Stop
what?
prevaricating.
I'm going to go with the #1 seed. I'm going to go with Michael Hetrick.
Okay, Hetrick for Rashad.
I know it's kind of an easy pick.
Zach Hill goes with?
I'd actually probably go with Florian Pills.
Okay, and I will offer you the Magic Online specialist Sean McLaren in Pod 1. Why don't we take a look at Pod 2 then? So all of these guys, it's the rest of the 7-1s if we take a look, and then the first two on tie breaks of the 6-2s. So you've got 3 up at the top there, 7-1s without a team. Gabriel Ngoyen, Tim Rivera, Thomas Hendricks of the Netherlands, still at 7-1. TCG players Chris Fennell, Maxim Grin of the 1%ers, another TCG player, so Fennell and Shrout could go at it at some point this morning. And then the 2 6-2s, Justin Bransfield and Joseph Kevaney from cardmonstergames.com. Zach, I'll let you pick a winner from this one first.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chris Fennell. We've been talking about him all the time. I was in a top 8 of a Grand Prix with him, actually, back in St. Louis in 2006. Mainly, I said that to name drop myself, but mostly because I've seen him play. I've seen him play when the stakes are high. I know that he can 3-0 a pod, and I think this is his moment to shine.
Rashad, give me a winner.
Well, you know, the easy pick is Chris Fennell.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go with Johnny Hot Sauce. Andrew Shrout. Mostly because I just wanted to say Johnny Hot Sauce.
That seems fine. And I'm going to pick Tim Rivera. I've seen him play a bunch over the years, and yeah, he's my idea of a winner in that one. So that's Pod 2. Let's take a look at Pod 3 up next. So remember, they're working down in scorecard order. So now everyone at this table is on 6-2. So the way this pod will work out, assuming there are no draws, somebody will get to 9-2. 3 players will end up at 8 wins and 3 losses. 3 players will end up at 7 wins and 4 losses. And someone is still going to be stuck on 6 wins and be at 6-5 and have a very miserable lunchtime. So Rashad, on table 3, who do you like?
I'm going to go with Big Z. I'll tell you that, okay? It's my guy.
Of course you are.
I think you could do it. Of course I think you figured me out by now.
Okay. Zach, give me a winner.
I love Big Z, but I'm actually going to go with Quentin Martin. He's an exceptional limited player. He's been one of the best limited players on the planet for almost a decade now, and whenever he's active, he tends to do well in 40-card formats.
So let me just check. I got to pick 3rd, and you left me a Hall of Famer. Thanks, guys.
Go for it.
What? And you say that like you think he's not going to...
I'm not saying. I'm just saying that there's a lot of talent in that pod.
Yes, there is.
There you go.
And there is still variance in Magic the Gathering.
I will go with Ullerada. That's Swedish for Ollie Rada. So, all right, let's look at Pod 4 and see who we've got in this. Again, they are all going to be 6-2 records coming in. Lots of teams there. You've got Jacob Wilson from Face to Face Games and Josh McLean. So the 2 of them are on a collision course maybe at 8-2 in a couple of hours' time. You've got 2 TCG players in this pod. You've got Craig Wesco and Stephen Mann going at it. From Fireball, Brian Kibler, who had a terrific start to the day, 5-0, ended up 6-2. He's probably a little disappointed with that, but he has phenomenally high standards. Then you've got Lucas Tajak with his Grand Prix top 8 from the Austria-Germany team, and then Arjen van Leeuwen, twice a Grand Prix winner. That is a super stacked pod. There isn't a single weak link there. Zach, pick a winner.
I'm actually going to go with Arjen van Leeuwen. He's been around a long time. He's played a lot of Magic. And I think, he's got multiple GP wins. He's experienced in the format. He's a solid pick.
He's one of those guys like the first ever GP winner that can claim to have won the largest GP of all time. But his is more impressive. He won like Paris when it was sort of around about 2000, 1900,
right.
something like that. You know, half the size of Vegas, obviously. But there we are. Rashad, a winner.
Well, I think that the white strategies have gotten a lot better with the with additional Born of the Gods. So I'm going to go with Craig Wesco. So he knows how to pilot the tap for, attack with white creatures.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with that choice because Wesco's someone who, until he's right at the top of the standings, you kind of don't notice because he goes about his business so quietly. As a person, he's very calm. He just wanders over, beats someone, wanders away, wanders back, beats someone else, wanders away. And you just go, "How you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, doing okay."
Just win the tournament.
Just doing fine.
Just winning. Yeah. And something we talked about with Matthias Hunt at the desk last night was this idea of staying bored for as long as you can. Not getting all, I'm on day 2 of a Pro Tour. Right. I'm in a draft pod with 7 names I recognize. No, it's just, I got up this morning, I put some clothes on, I had some breakfast, I played some Magic, then it was lunchtime, then I had some lunch, then I played some more Magic, then I thought I'd come back on Sunday and do it again, and then I won $40,000. So I think Wesco's ideally situated. I think that's a great pick, but I'm going to go with Brian Kibler.
Interesting.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's a bold pick.
How can picking Brian Kibler ever be a bold pick?
That's Rich's strategy.
So conservative.
Mono Hall of Fame control.
Mono. Yeah.
I see it.
You happy with that?
Good strategy.
I mean, it is a very good strategy. I'm surprised there aren't ashes next to him so that you can easily pick them out.
Oh, it's all right.
Next time.
It's on the old laser vision. It's just like Hall of Fame, Hall of... Yeah. All right. So did I let you pick one?
Yeah. I picked Arsene Van Leeuwen.
Oh, that was you. Okay, good. On we go. Next. What do we got next? Show me draft pod 5, please. Here we are. So I assume Rashad's going to go with Alexander Orozek because you know so much about him. Right?
Well,
No?
I planned on not going with him because I was going to try not to have to pronounce his name.
Okay.
But of this
Just
pod,
call him AA if you want.
I could call him AA. That's a nice nickname. I'm gonna go with our hero, Owen Turtenwald. I didn't get to look at his deck very well, but he is. You know what?
That's cheating. You got to see every pick of his draft.
We did have the opportunity to see every pick of his draft, but I don't think that it was the best deck that I've seen drafted, especially in those colors. But I've seen him top 8 in day 2 with worse sealed decks. So it's all play skill. So I think he can do wonders with just about any 40 cards.
Okay, Zach, give me a winner from this pod.
I'm going to have to go with Lenny B. Ben Lundquist.
Lenny B. Okay, I saw what you did there. Very good.
Chiefly because he's awesome, and secondarily because I think he's a really good Magic player on a really good team, and I want to see him do well.
Okay, I will offer you Sam Tharmaratnam. He's not yet in the Hall of Fame. Yabu, sucks to you.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, so am I. There weren't any Hall of Famers. Jeez, anyway, I'm going to go with Sam Tharmaratnam. I think he's a terrific player. He's got very, very good numbers. One of those guys that Magic is a top-heavy game where when you go 10-6, 10-6, 10-6, 11-5, 11-5, nobody knows. And when you go 0-3, 0-3, 0-3, 13-1, everybody knows.
Right.
Sam is a 10-6, 10-6, 11-5, 11-5 kind of a guy. He's 6-2. He's scheduled for 12-4. He's scheduled for top 16, just like he always is.
So you ran the numbers.
That's exactly what happened.
Right.
So I can't pick Hall of Famers. I can't run the numbers. You just want me to go, I'll have the third one down, don't you?
Why don't you pick from here for a change?
From the liver? From the kidneys? What is that?
From the
Reach into your
xiphoid process.
pancreas.
How about that?
Wow.
Look
Hashtag
it up.
xiphoid process.
And now, moving swiftly on.
Somewhat
Next,
swiftly.
6. John Sittner from the United States is 6-2. Everyone here is 6-2. Martin Pellerin. Now, there's a Hall of Famer in this one.
Oh, there is.
Perhaps I'll pick first. John Finkel from the Pantheon is there. Marcelino Freeman from Mexico. Luca Cassidy, a winner of Grand Prix Moscow a couple of years back. Henri Tubiana from Israel is 6-2. Reed Duke. The 2 Pantheon heavyweights, could they meet to play for the pod at 8-2? That'd be super exciting. Well, we'll have to see. Give me a winner, Zach Hill.
I'm going to go ahead and steal it from you, Rich, and pick John Finkel.
You're not stealing it. I know who I've got in this, and it's not John.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Okay, well, I'll just take arguably the best limited player of all time, arguably the best player of all time, John Finkel.
Okay. Rashad.
Well, I'm going to take Reed Duke. Because how can you not take Reed Duke? What is he, 3rd ranked player in the world right now.
He's ranked high.
He
It's
is.
pretty high.
He's
And
3.
you know what? And he wins tournaments,
Okay.
or at least gets second in them.
I'm going to go with the guy that I identified in the coverage roundtable with BDM a couple of weeks ago, which is Raymond Tan of Malaysia.
I was hoping someone would pick
Interesting.
him.
Yep. Raymond Tan is on his Pro Tour debut. So obviously a complete punt in the dark from my point of view. But when we were running the numbers with Paul Jordan, a famous PJ on Twitter who does all the stats work for us here at the Pro Tour, so we get hundreds and hundreds of numbers about hundreds and hundreds of players. This guy, Raymond Tan of Malaysia, he's played in 4 Grand Prix, 5 Grand Prix. He's like 80% win rate. He's just crazy good.
I can't even shoot free throws that well.
I know. You can't do a lot of things that well. Guess what? The players have built their decks. Everyone's ready. The top 6 draft pods are ready to go into action. 3 rounds of draft will set the stage for 5 rounds of Modern as we come down the stretch here on day 2 of Pro Tour Born of the Gods. Let's get to the turn-by-turn action in the commentary box. Hall of Famer Randy Buehler, and first, Pro Tour historian Mr. Brian David Marshall.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 2 of Pro Tour Born of the Gods here in Valencia. I'm Brian David Marshall. I'm here with Hall of Famer Randy Buehler, and we are about to watch Owen Turtenwald, one of the hottest players on the Pro Tour, considered by his teammates the player playing the best Magic on the Pro Tour right now.
For sure.
Versus, playing the role of Goliath to Daryl Ayer's David.
Sure.
Here in round 9 of the event. We're ready to watch these guys play. We saw Owen draft. Let's see how the action unfolds on the floor.